Hey guys, Josh here, and during the last Nintendo Partner Showcase, a new trailer was revealed for Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma, formerly known as Rune Factory Project Dragon. In this video, I'll go over the new features that were shown in the trailer, summarize everything we know about the game so far, and how it should differ from the rest of the Rune Factory series. But first, what is Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma? Announced during the Marvelous Game Showcase of 2023, this game will be a spin-off that will bring us, for the first time ever, to the eastern country of Azuma inspired by traditional Japan. Similarly to previous spin-off titles like Rune Factory Frontier and Tides of Destiny, we can expect Guardians of Azuma to bring in new mechanics and to be a bit more experimental than the mainline games, which tend to follow a more rigid formula. We will be getting Rune Factory 6 eventually. We've not seen anything of that game besides the logo, but I want to make clear that Guardians of Azuma is not Rune Factory 6. That being said, the Rune Factory spin-offs are my favorite, and let's check out the trailer to see what this one has to offer. What I first noticed in this trailer were the voices.
I offer these humble words,
Great entity.
which dwells within this tree.
If you're new to the series, Rune Factory games typically are partially voiced over, so characters will say phrases here and there. Some of the most important lines will be voiced, but for the whole 2 minutes of this trailer, we can hear the protagonist and other characters talking, and that emphasis on the voices really stood out to me. While I don't necessarily expect everything to be voiced, I do get the impression that we will be getting more than usual, and also more cinematic cutscenes when there's action happening while the characters are talking, instead of the usual where everything would just stop moving and you would have to read through the dialogue. That could make the story a lot more engaging, and you might be wondering, what will these characters be chatting about exactly? Well, the story will take place in Azuma, after it's been struck by a colossal object that separated the land into fragments sent across the skies and the seas. You will get to pick between two protagonists, Subaru or Kaguya, whose destinies are intertwined by mysterious forces, and they seem to be rivals, at least at the beginning. Your protagonist of choice will wake up with amnesia, of course, like in all Rune Factory games, and you'll meet with Woolby, this woolly with horns, who makes you an Earth Dancer. Typically in Rune Factory, you're an Earthmate, so you have a special connection with the Earth, but this time, your power will come through dance. So using that power of dance, along with sacred treasures you'll find on your adventures, and brand new long-range weapons like the bow and the talisman, you will fight against enemies and help to rebuild Azuma and revive its 6 nature gods. While combat has always been a big part of the Rune Factory series, it looks like they put a lot of effort into revamping it, not only because of the new weapons and dance skills, but overall the animations are a lot flashier and more polished than in previous entries. But we have seen combat in the previous trailers already. The big new thing here is rebuilding Azuma. There will be 4 seasonal villages, so one for spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and in each one you'll be able to farm, more on that later. But as you were building the villages, you will get to actually place houses, shops, and decor items yourself, kind of like how it was in Harvest Moon: A New Beginning, and as you do that, more villagers will move in. If you played Rune Factory 5, you know how it was a struggle in that game to place anything down. There was no grid, decorating was a mess. So now they're doing a whole 180 where you'll get to decorate to your heart's content with the help of a nice grid. I can already picture myself spending hours building the 4 villages, and I can't wait to see what other players will come up with. Not only will we get to rebuild these villages and attract new villagers, we'll also get to participate in festivals, including revamped fan favorites and brand new ones. I also have to say this game looks so beautiful in comparison to Rune Factory 5. Not only is there a huge technical improvement when you look at things like the water, the lighting, particle effects, and all of that, it seems like they put a lot more care into designing the world. Of course, some of the environments, like the villages, will be up to the player to a certain extent, but overall it just looks like there will be less empty space and more details. Trees, bushes, high grass, fences, rivers. There's a lot going on at anywhere you look in the trailer, and as a quick example, look at this mountain in the Winter Village, and compare it to the mountains, any of the mountains in Rune Factory 5. There's just so much more going on in Guardians of Azuma. not only with the mountain itself, but everything surrounding it. It's a night and day difference, and that should make the world so much more immersive and fun to explore. Since the world has been fragmented, we can expect Guardians of Azuma to be a bit more like Tides of Destiny, where you go from one island to another. I'm guessing that there might be one large island for each season, and then smaller ones with various dungeons or resources to gather, and I think that returning to this format of smaller areas is one thing that would allow the developers to put more details into each one of them and flesh them out more without having the game struggle too much, especially on the Nintendo Switch. As to how you will travel between these islands, one way will be with Woolby, who has the ability to transform into this huge dragon. Besides Woolby, I don't know if we'll have any more monsters or if wrenching will even be a thing or not, but farming will be. At first, I was worried how tedious it could be having to manage crops in 4 different villages, but then I saw something very interesting in the trailer: these villagers working on crops. They look like very generic villagers first of all, so I don't think we should expect the villages to be populated only with unique characters, but my guess is that you will be able to ask these guys to farm for you, saving you a lot of time, for example, when you're away from a specific village. Considering that each village is tied to a different season, I imagine you will want to have crops growing in all of them. In other Rune Factory games, you can have monsters farming for you, so I find interesting that it's villagers doing it here instead, which is one more reason why I question whether or not we will have wrenching. Of course, like in any good farming sim, you will also be able to farm by yourself. Using a hoe, you will till the ground anywhere you'd like in the customizable areas of the villages, and I like that you're not restricted to specific plots. Watering will be done through some sort of water dance with this umbrella, and I know we really don't see too much of the farming in the trailer, but it does seem so satisfying. It reminds me a bit of Harvestella with the bigger tiles that contain 4 crops each, the magical watering, and even the animations. Mainline Rune Factory games, specifically 3, 4, and 5, all have that same feeling to their farming mechanics, so they're fun but also very fast and a bit chaotic, where my fields always end up looking so messy. But I get the impression that Guardians of Azuma's farming will be more neat, smooth, and organized, kind of like what you would get in Harvestella like I said earlier, or even Story of Seasons. I don't know if I'm making sense, let me know if you agree or not, but for me, the feeling of the farming itself is so important in a farming sim, and I just love how it looks so far here, and I'm very confident it will be great. We'll also have rice paddies for the first time, which is nice. Some extra information based on screenshots I found on the official Japanese website. First, we can see the UI for the first time, it looks neat, and we still have levels for the crops, so there's some level 1 turnips here, and it's safe to assume it probably goes up all the way to level 10. While I cannot guarantee this, I would assume they most likely not brought the more complex mechanics from the main games, like the soil's health, defense, and all of these stats, as they would have appeared in that menu otherwise, so we can expect a farming that's a little bit more on the simpler side. On this other screenshot, we can see some of the fishing. It looks like a pretty standard Rune Factory fishing. In the top right, we have the name of the village, so in this case, the Winter Village. It's level, so it's a level 1 village, and just below we have lumber and material stone, which will probably be used to build things. So you'll have these 4 villages, and each one will be associated with a seasonal god that you will have to revive. I think we can see all of the gods here in this part of the trailer. We have Ulalaka, the goddess of spring, and we don't know the names for the others yet, but I will guess that this one with a flower on her head would be summer, this one with a maple leaf would be autumn, this white and blue guy would be winter, and there are 6 gods in total, so these 2 extra ones could be sun and moon or something along those lines. But gods are not the only people you will meet in Azuma. We can expect some returning characters such as Hina from Rune Factory 5. She is older now, and it looks like she became a Seed Ranger, as she's wearing the Seed hat and armband. I think that is a nice touch, and I am looking forward to seeing if we'll recognize more characters. Hina looks like she will be romanceable, or at the very least befriendable, since you can build a bond with her, and this screenshot, again from the Japanese website, shows that her and the player have a bond level 3. There are 4 interactions available here. One is to talk about a mechanism, I'm not too sure exactly, Another one is to go to the river, the other one to go shopping, and the last one to go to the snowy fields. Considering there's an airship right behind them, I am assuming that this is some sort of fast travel mechanic. One confirmed romanceable character is Iroha, and this one appears on the official English website as well as the Steam page, and I am curious to see how this bond system will differ from the usual relationships in Rune Factory. According to that same website, we know that marriage will be possible with any romanceable characters, no matter which protagonist you pick, so in other words, there will be same-sex marriage. These characters will have fully voiced scenarios, and you will be able to invite them to help you in battles. We can see the wedding cutscene in the trailer. Subaru and Kaguya are getting married to each other, so yes, you can romance the other protagonist, and since the world is heavily inspired by Japan, the outfits are similar to the traditional Japanese wedding outfits, which I think is a fun change from the usual. The last thing I would like to point out that might divide some people: there are no 2D character portraits. You will see the character models pretty up close, and they seem quite well detailed and animated. The last spin-off game, Tides of Destiny, also did not have portraits, so I'm not surprised, and it's personally not something I care about as long as I can see the characters, but I know it's important to a lot of people. I always see this topic being brought up in discussions, so if it is something that's important to you, I would love to hear your thoughts on how the characters look in this game. These are all of the main things that I noticed. Now let's quickly go over the release date and platforms. Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma should release in spring 2025 for Steam and Nintendo Switch. I was actually quite surprised to see this game during the Direct, as they had not announced any platform until now, and with how good the game looked, I was convinced it would be for Nintendo's next console. Who knows, it might release on there as well, but I am impressed by how it looks on the Switch, especially compared to Rune Factory 5. And I will make sure to be picking up this game on the Switch, as they are releasing a special physical edition, the Earth Dancer Edition, which comes with the game, of course, an art book, the soundtrack CD, an Azuma-inspired folding fan, a Woolby plush, as well as the Seasons of Love DLC, whatever that is, and additional DLC costumes. That is quite a lot of stuff, and this Earth Dancer Edition should retail for $99 or 135 Canadian. Overall, I really like everything we saw about Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma so far, and I can't wait to learn more about it. Both the farming and combat look so satisfying. I love that we'll be able to build different villages. The throwback to Tides of Destiny with the different islands is so fun, as well as returning characters like Hina from Rune Factory 5. We're off to a really good start. In the following weeks and months, we can expect to see the different characters being revealed and the gameplay mechanics explained in greater details, as suggested by the official website, which I'll leave a link to in the description. Let me know what you're the most excited for about this game, and maybe something you're worried about if there is. I will be covering Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma a lot on my channel, so make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe if you want to stay up to date with Rune Factory as well as a ton of other farming games. This Thursday on the Gaming Garden podcast, my second channel, I will be discussing everything else that was announced during the Nintendo Direct, so feel free to have a look at that if you're interested. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.